Environment Day. I hope we've done something for our environment, and I hope we are keeping our environment safer, better, and improved each day. My name is Rose Kavuli. I am in the development sector. I have worked in education, I have worked in empowerment programs, and currently I am in the sanitation sector. So I'll pick from where my other facilitators have left. I know we've been impacted with a lot of knowledge on environment and environmental conservation measures. So I'll focus on sanitation and waste management in Africa. And so one of the things that I want to start by saying is that according to the World Health Organization, we can all imagine of our own communities where we live on a daily basis. And for me, in my community, not everyone is able to access safe sanitation as well as drinking water. But that said, efforts are there through the things that you do on a daily basis. We are ensuring that people have access to safe sanitation. So from this aspect of environmental degradation, it is very clear that water is an important aspect of sanitation as well as conservation of environment. We've all grown up hearing that water is life, and we know the benefits of water. We know, like, when there's water shortage, a lot of things happen. Yeah, the other element of degradation that I just want to point out to is climate change and impacts. And for this one, we all know that recently we've experienced heavy rains across Africa. And in Kenya, it was really, really bad in some of our cities where we've seen flooding cropping for the first time in some areas, and some flooding that you've not experienced for a long period of time cropping in other areas. So these are all dire effects of climate change and the impact. And what I want to mention here is that with proper planning, because we have city planners here, with proper planning, I think we can mitigate against most of the effects. When you talk about sanitation and climate change, you find that most of our sanitation solutions, the sanitation solutions that we have and we use, some of them actually add to the effects and impact of the climate change. For example, when we use our conventional pit latrines, which are not very hygienic or are not well kept, we know all the effects that they have to our environment. Moving on to the, now narrowing down to the impact of waste management. For here, we can talk about air and water pollution. Studies have shown that in Kenya, only 30% is well covered in terms of sanitation. What does that mean? That means that we have quite a number of people doing open defecation, and this is not unique to Nigeria and other countries across Africa. So open defecation has really been a thing that has been practiced for long. I know in the past we talked about our fecal matter being fertilizers. But of course, with changing time, higher populations in the cities, open defecation poses a danger to the water, to the air, and generally to the environment that we live in. The other area is soil contamination. Amos has delved into this. He's talked about use of harmful chemical substances and how that is injuring the soil, making productivity and food production not to be as it was many years ago. The other one is spread of diseases, and this actually has a direct link to sanitation. So most of the waste management systems that we have, some of them are not so well planned. For example, in Kenya, we have informal waste management, which is done by pit emptiers for areas that have pit latrines. This happens in low-income areas or slum areas. I'm happy that it's been mentioned that the slums cropping is an issue that is being experienced globally, and we can relate it as Kenya and Nigeria. We have houses that are built that are so closely of sanitation is not really well done. Yes. What is the current state of waste management in Africa? So, currently, I know you will all agree with me that we have inadequate collection and disposal of waste. Yes, like for example, in Kenya, we have people who collect waste from different households, from different estates, but most of our communities still do not have measures of collecting their waste. Our dump sites are not so well planned. For example, in Nairobi, there's one dump site that is famous called Dandora dump site. And for a long time, the government has tried to put mechanisms to manage it, but unfortunately, this dump site is managed by the informal cartels that are able to segregate waste. And while this is happening, I think there's no proper management of that waste. On a large scale, if we had adequate plans and disposal measures, I think segregation of waste, which includes even human waste, could be done well. I'm happy to report that where I work, we deal with management of waste, and this is human waste, where we safely transport this waste from communities to safer areas as a result of partnership that we've had with the county governments and the national governments. The other area is limited recycling and reuse. Of course, even from a household level, we can all agree, like when we use plastics, we don't have the capacity or even the information and knowledge to tag the plastic waste that we have, whether it's reusable or not. And most of the time, all our waste end up in one bin. All the things that we deem as waste end up in one bin. This makes recycling and reuse very, very hard. Specifically to narrow on human waste, for a long time, and even today, in Africa, in most communities, dealing with human waste is categorized as a taboo. I mean, the interaction with human waste is a taboo. So it becomes very hard to craft ways in which we can use human waste, in which we can convert this waste into fertilizer and other usable things that can add value. So that actually speaks to limitation in recycling and reuse. The other one is informal picking. So for us, most of the waste handlers in Kenya are in the sector of informal. So what this means is we don't have systems, we don't have mechanisms, we don't have ways in which we can handle our waste very well. This said, I want to say that there are formal companies that are doing it, but most of it, especially in the low-income communities that I interact with on a daily basis, waste is done by youth groups, which are not like formally registered, most of them, and people in the community who don't have like the technical expertise or the technical know-how of how to disintegrate, of how to make use of this proper use of this waste. Yeah, so some of the challenges in the sanitation, when you talk of the waste, is lack of access to sanitation. This is linked to environmental degradation, and there's a lot that can be done to ensure that safe sanitation fits in very well in ensuring that we have an environment that you're proud of and an environment that caters for the needs of the generations that are in existence as well as for the generations that are coming. As I've mentioned, 2.4 billion people lack safe access to sanitation. So the pictures here, you can see the first picture is a community that I've worked in, and you can see that is a toilet. So of course, that's a toilet and that's a river. So what this means is there's a lot that has happened that has gone into our communities not being very well conversant of knowledge of taking care of their environment as far as sanitation is concerned. And because of the growth of population that we currently have across Africa and across the globe, slums and informal settlements areas are here to stay. So what that means is, as development practitioners, as city planners, as people doing different initiatives to elevate our communities, we will need to craft ways in which we can ensure that the sanitation measures that we have fit very well in environmental conservation, fit very well in ensuring that we are harboring an environment that is safe. And so what lack of access to sanitation has done, it has led to spread of diseases, it has led to people living in conditions and situations that are not dignifying. It has led to outbreak of diseases. One of the diseases we can talk of is cholera. And these are diseases that, if the environment is well taken care of, if we build toilets that are human friendly, that cater for the needs of the people, diseases that are cropping as a result of poor hygiene, diseases that are cropping as a result of us not being able to deal with our environmental matters and situations, will have been dealt with. So my call to action, even as I go on with the presentation, is, as much as we are experiencing environmental degradation, I think there's a lot that you can do in terms of sanitation to ensure that we have safe sanitation that caters for the needs that we have in the environment. So talk of the restoration and what is being done, what efforts we can bring on table to ensure that we have a safe environment. One of the things that I want to mention is environmental degradation requires a multifaceted approach. It requires different sectors working together. It requires different people bringing different ideas. It requires each person taking initiative at where they are. It requires looking at each step that you're taking as a step that adds to conserving the environment that you're living in. It requires more technology. It requires a mix of indigenous knowledge as well as the scientific way, as well as the art. So some of the strategies for effective waste management, which add to conservation of the environment, is integrated waste management system. So one of the methods that we use in Kenya and across is reduce, reuse, and recycle. So for the waste that you have in our homes, some of the waste that end up in the bin should not be waste. Like, for example, when you talk of food waste, one of the things that you can do, we can reduce food waste significantly by cooking what we need to eat for that particular day. This actually adds to us being responsible in the resources that we have. The other one is reuse. And for reuse, I just want to talk about sanitation. So one of the ways we've made use of the human waste that we collect on a daily basis where I work is we are able to recycle the waste and produce fertilizer. This is done by a different sister company that has processes and procedures in line. But other than that, we've formed partnerships where the waste collected can be safely disposed with the mechanisms we have in place to ensure that this waste does not end up in the community. I think the big thing when you talk of waste management is to ensure that this waste goes to where it belongs or where it's supposed to be and where it can be productive. The other element for this, for integrated waste management, is recycling. And one of the things that I want to mention is in today's world, most organizations, most companies, and most institutions have embraced the waste labeling in terms of integrating the waste that they produce and they have for the companies. So one of the things that you can do in our respective spaces, we can have all our waste labeled. So label your waste so that when it comes to recycling, it becomes easier for the recyclers. For in sanitation, for us, We have mechanisms of collecting the fecal matter and the urine separately so that we minimize their odor. So what this means is this waste is well handled even during transportation and during the recycling for our sister company that does that. The other element is modernized infrastructure. And because we are in a forum where we have so many city planners, architectures, and people concerned about how cities are developing. So one of the things that you can do, and I'm picking this even from Amos's presentation, is can we have systems and mechanisms that have sanitation factored in? And when you talk of sanitation, proper sanitation, even with the cropping of informal settlement areas, slum areas, I believe practitioners can give insights through the work that different practitioners are doing in this space. A lot of mechanisms, like for example, toilets that are fit for smaller spaces, like we are doing in Kenya. Smaller spaces can be innovated so that the infrastructure that this segment of communities have fits them very well. The other thing is just proper planning in terms of the cities. I'm glad that we in Africa we have good examples, like for example in Nairobi, as pointed out by the previous presenter, we've seen that we are planting trees in the city. We have roads that have different elements of greening, and so this can be done. So as we have this glass infrastructural coming up, I think we stand a chance to ensure that our systems work very well. In sanitation, when we are coming up with the infrastructure, the sewers and everything, let's plan ensuring that we leave space for other measures that fit into greening the environment. The other element that I can speak of is public engagement. And this is engagement across. We need everyone participating in this journey. We need everyone to ensure that there's environmental conservation that factors in proper sanitation and proper waste management. So all these elements are bringing in on board the community. And one of the things that I want to mention, even as practitioners, as people in different spaces who are technocrats, the communities we serve know their problems and they have solutions to their problems. So when we talk about sanitation, when you're going there to erect maybe toilets, erect sewers, let's ensure that community participation through public engagement is well done. Let's get the views of people. Let's have people participating, people telling us what they think works and what does not work. So the other element is, so how do we enhance sanitation access and hygiene promotion? So the first and the foremost thing is prioritizing investment. I know for a long time, sanitation has not been like a high priority. When you talk about conservation of the environment, we will talk about planting trees. We will talk about maybe farming and all these other things. But factoring sanitation in environmental promotion, environmental conservation has not really been on forefront. So one of the things that you can do, and this is across for the funders, for the donors, for us specifically, we can prioritize investing in investment. You will all agree with me. Every end month, when you go to shop for your month, you don't factor in sanitation. Like there's no budget, and this happens to most of us. There's no budget that says this small budget is for sanitation, which fits into environment. So one of the things that you can do is to ensure that we are talking about investment in sanitation, and such investment direction, toilets, even in our homes. So we make these investments by our toilets are clean, probably erecting toilets, but it's like never a priority. We don't have it in our plans and in the plans of infrastructure that is coming up that sanitation environment is to ensure that there is priority. And this can be done in different folds. It can be done at the government level, it can be done at the community level, and it can be done at our households level. So if we ensure that there's that priority in investment, I think generally we will have done something that will add to access to sanitation and hygiene promotion. The other one is education. We all know that education opens doors, and then it creates pathways for communities and people to participate and be enlightened. So one of the things that you can do as practitioners, and one of the things that I'm doing, I'm educating the communities that I serve on sanitation and hygiene matters and how this fits in our environment, and in ensuring that we have a proper environment for all of us. So things like things as little as hand washing and how to wash your hands properly, how to ensure that the toilet that you have is clean, really work very well. Sometimes we may assume that, oh, people know these people know how to wash their hands, people know how to wash their toilets, people know how everything is done. But from a point of experience in the communities that I serve, which are mostly informal settlement areas, people need to be educated, people need to be engaged, people need to be called to action even at the household level to ensure that there's proper hygiene and sanitation access. The other element which I've spoken in the two is community engagement. I am an avid believer of when communities are enlightened, I think most of the problems will be solved, and more solutions will be gotten of the challenges that we're currently facing as a nation, as a continent, and generally the whole world. So part of what I really emphasize on is to ensure that all the stakeholders, as we talk about greening, as we talk about sanitation, as we talk about hygiene promotion, all the stakeholders, beginning with that kid in that school, that 4-year-old that you think doesn't understand as much. I mean, we engage them, engage them through forums that are safe for kids, to be taught about sanitation, hygiene, and the environment, and how everything fits in to ensure that everyone is happy in the community. So community engagement is a really key component in ensuring that enhanced sanitation access is there and the promotion of hygiene is attained. Some of the recommendations, and these have been dived into by the previous presenters, I had. One was to strengthen regulation framework. These are frameworks around how sanitation fits in environment. And for us, Kenya, frameworks that have the way sanitation is supposed to be approached in our communities. Recently, we have the container-based sanitation as an option that most of the cities are exploring, especially the ones that have cropping, informal settlement areas. And so for Africa as a continent, I think we need to strengthen the regulation frameworks. One of the things that I can say, we have very good policies across Africa, across Kenya, and all the cities. But when it comes to implementation, that is where we lag behind a bit. So my recommendation is, as practitioners in this space and as people mandated to do different things in our different spaces, let's ensure that we are advocating for proper implementation of the regulations that we have in place. The other one is enhanced waste collection and recycling programs. So as I've mentioned before, as a continent, as a nation, we are somewhere in terms of ensuring that we have proper waste disposal and recycling. So what we can do in our respective spaces as planners, city planners, you can ensure that everything that you're doing to improve the cities has a very elaborate waste collection and recycling systems, and this will save us a lot in terms of conserving our environment. The other area which I've spoken about in our previous slide is promotion of community-based initiative. There are so many initiatives happening, so many good initiatives. So what we can do is ensure that we support the civil society organizations, the educational campaigns, and better still, we can innovate more initiatives that will come and fit into ensuring that we have better systems in sanitation management, in environmental conservation, and in making the environment that we live in better. The other one is improve infrastructure, and I'm glad to say that most of you in this forum are engaged in the work of ensuring that the infrastructure and the knowledge that people do need to have is passed on very well. So one of the things that you can do is to ensure that people have proper sanitation facilities. This will be done by innovating the best toilets, the best systems in terms of sewer that cater for the needs of the people and that adapt to the changing environmental factors to ensure that we have an environment that factors in the emerging issues. Because one of the things that I can point as an emerging issue in Kenya is we have so many informal settlements coming up. And so what this means is we need innovations that fit in very well to ensure that sanitation and other areas in development are well catered for. So for us, what we've done is we build toilets in communities, low-income communities, and these toilets are run. So seaward, we partner with the utilities where we work, and this ensures that this segment of cropping emerging need is addressed. So this is just a small percentage. I think more innovations need to come in place in terms of infrastructure. The other one is foster public-private partnership. There's a lot that can be done when partnerships are forged for all the sectors and all the stakeholders. One of the key strengths that we've realized where I work is we've been able to partner with county governments to ensure that communities that would not have access to safe sanitation well catered for in terms of having non-sewered toilets that are collected on a daily basis. As I wind up, one of the things that I want to say is we have a lot. We have a lot as Africa in terms of resources. We have a lot as Nigeria, Kenya, because most of the participants are from these two countries. And one of the things that we can do is to ensure that the much that we have is well invested, the much that we have is well utilized. And when you talk of sanitation and hygiene and environment conservation, one of the things that you can do is to ensure that the resources that you have are well deployed. As planners, my call to you is to ensure that the plans that you have fit in very well within dignified lives in terms of sanitation. And what we can do as responsible citizens is to ensure that our actions fit in very well in ensuring that the environment in which we live in caters for our needs, as well as catering for the needs of those that will come after us. It is very important to note that environmental conservation will not be achieved in one day. It will not be achieved by one person, but with little steps each day, with little efforts each moment, we will get there as a continent. Thank you.